The middle class is the backbone of our democracy. And the middle class in America has a union label on it.
Speaker Pelosi discussing the passage of a major bill backing unions by protecting them from corporate crackdowns and trying to empower workers to organize themselves, a move that comes at a very pivotal time for organizing in America. President Biden explicitly backing these kind of union efforts, which are often opposed by powerful Wall Street groups and CEOs, and at a time when workers at Amazon.com are trying to unionize in Alabama.
Workers in Alabama and all across America are voting on whether to organize a union in their workplace. This is vitally important, a vitally important choice. There should be no intimidation, no coercion, no threats, no anti-union propaganda. Every worker should have a free and fair choice to join a union. Make your voice heard.
Now, that may sound like a pretty reasonable baseline or standard rhetoric, but it actually goes farther than many presidents on these issues, which do pit powerful owners against sometimes their own workers. Many seeing Biden now as the most pro-labor chief executive in decades, besting other Democratic presidents, while the effort to unionize at the Amazon plant in Alabama is a key test case because Amazon may set standards well beyond its own factories and its own shipping centers. It has the money after a banner year with pandemic and people at home where Amazon raked in, wait for it, $386 billion. $386 billion. Now, in their own words, workers say all of this is about more than getting a decent wage or a benefit, though that's important. It's also about pooling their own labor for power.
It would change my life for the better because now I understand that I have security. I have someone with a lot of voice that amplify my voice. I understand that I have a voice, but sometimes our voices are not heard. With the union, I know that I have job security, where the company can't fire me for just a mundane thing.
This is really important stuff, and the battle comes as unions have taken a lot of hits, frankly. They've receded in Democratic Party politics and really in American life. Membership dropping from once 1 out of 3 people back in the 50s down to a paltry 6% in 2019. A loss of power and visibility that's a shift from the past when unions could even legitimately rally consumer support for products in TV ads. Look for the union label. But nowadays, we often see a culture where tech leaders are touted far more than the workers who still fuel and build their empires. The Amazon CEO, Jeff Bezos, made $75 billion last year. He's now worth $188 billion. It's a fortune that he's partially putting towards popular initiatives from the Washington Post journalism. We rely on that all the time and quote them and have their reporters on, to his own new announced charity work. But let's be clear, this union push strikes at something much deeper. Whether a fair system would better support those workers for their labor, for their work, for what they've earned, rather than tapping them to fund a fortune so big it gets given away years later, sometimes for programs that are supposed to benefit the working poor at companies like Amazon and Walmart and other corporations in the first place. Joining us now to get into all of this is presidential historian Michael Beschloss. Good to see you, sir. How does President Biden compare? Great to have you. How does he compare on labor to other recent presidents and specifically Democratic presidents?
I think we're seeing a resurgence of the romance between a Democratic White House and labor unions in this country, which really, Ari, was foreshadowed in 1935. That was sort of the high water mark. Franklin Roosevelt had been president for 3 years. He passed the National Labor Relations Act, which gave all sorts of federal sanctions to collective bargaining with labor unions and curbs on corporate power. The next year, he ran for president again as an enemy of Wall Street, as an enemy of excessive corporate power. In Madison Square Garden, Roosevelt said, "The forces of greed and selfishness are unanimous in their hatred for me, and I welcome their hatred." That was the opposite of recent times when Democrats have been a little bit more tepid in their support for labor unions than we've heard Joe Biden about this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank all of you out there.
Thank you as always.
Thanks to at home.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for letting us into your homes during these extraordinary times.